Hello everyone, first news update for 24th of April. Now it's 8:30 in the morning Moscow time, and I have prepared quite a number of news on some major developments that Russian media and public paid attention to, and I hope you will find this episode informative and useful. And if so, dear friends, please click that like button and leave some commentary. More likes and comments definitely can help to deal with the algorithm and reach wider audience. And if you are watching this episode on YouTube, please, dear friends, consider to switch to Rumble platform for next 30 minutes to hour and watch my video on Rumble. It's easy to do. If you are not a member of our Rumble community, under this video on YouTube, in the description box or in a pinned comment, or you can see the link to my main Rumble channel, and once you click, you come to this page here that you see on your screen, and then you just click on video, and that's it. So if you can, dear friends, please, lately I did start promoting my Rumble channel more energetically, let's say, and the results are there. Community is growing little by little, and view numbers on my videos on Rumble also are growing, and it does makes me happy for sure. So many thanks to everybody who supports this project this way by watching my videos on Rumble, and of course many thanks to everyone for the attention, of course. Okay, that's been said, dear friends, let's go through some news now. And first of all, I'll give you this report from TASS news agency that Russian armed forces liberated settlement of Tarasovka in a DPR. This information is confirmed by Russian Defense Ministry. Tarasovka is located on the eastern flank of Pokrovsk-Mirnograd agglomeration, and well, this is a Pokrovsk-Mirnograd agglomeration, and this is Tarasovka settlement. And if we take a look at their map in this direction, it is becoming clear, it's visible already, that Russian troops are actually creating two cold rooms now in this area from Leonidovka settlement to Tarasovka settlement. This territory now is in operational, one may argue, encirclement, and I guess Kiev regime's forces in the settlements like Gnatovka, Staraya Nikolaevka, Zarya, Romanovka, and Alexandropol have just maybe a couple of days to withdraw from this area safely. Otherwise, they're gonna end up being fully encircled, and then well, game is off. Game is over for these troops of Kiev regime. Significant sectoral scale progress of the Russian armed forces. Also, dear friends, yesterday, number of Russian media outlets reported that Russian troops entered the Garnal settlement in the Kursk region. This is last settlement where Kiev regime still has its presence, and battles are on now to liberate Garnal. And well, it is highly likely, in my opinion, that before end of this week, Garnal will be liberated, and that will be it for this disastrous, absolutely disastrous military aventure of Kiev regime and NATO that launched this invasion of the Kursk region last August and sacrificed basically over 75,000 troops of Kiev regime from strategical reserves and thousands of pieces of different type of military equipment, mainly Western made. Also, I mean, this is the news that I was just talking about. RIA Novosti and many other media outlets are reporting that Russian stormtroopers broke into Garnal settlement, and their videos are also circulating on internet where Russian troops are entering Garnal. Also, dear friends, RIA Novosti is reporting that there was explosions in Kiev, and not just in Kiev, but also in Kharkiv and many other areas that are still controlled by this Western-backed terrorist regime of Zelensky. On my Telegram this morning, I shared videos of strikes on military and logistical infrastructure of the Kiev regime. In Kiev, by the way, these videos are from Kiev. Details for this moment are unknown. What kind of military and logistical infrastructure of the Kiev regime was targeted there precisely, but probably during the day we will find out some more, and of course I will share additional information on my Telegram and Twitter X pages and in the next update. RIA Novosti is also reporting that during the night, early hours of this morning, Russian air defense systems intercepted 87 drones that were launched by Kiev regime with assistance of NATO to strike deep into Russian territory. 45 drones were intercepted over the Crimea, so it was a massive strike in Crimean direction, and 45 drones were neutralized. 10 drones were intercepted over the Belgorod region, and also 10 drones over the Kursk region, 8 drones over the territory of Voronezh region, 4 drones over the Bryansk, also 4 drones over the Lipetsk, and 4 drones over the Nizhny Novgorod regions, and 2 drones over the territory of Moscow region. Relatively large-scale attempt of Kiev regime and its NATO backers to strike deep into Russian territory. But as Russian media reports, 87 drones were neutralized by air defense systems on duty. RIA Novosti is also reporting that, well, refusal to Kiev to acknowledge Crimea as a Russian territory was a reason why Marco Rubio, head of US State Department, refused to go to London and participate in a meeting that was planned there for Wednesday, for yesterday, where heads of foreign ministries of a number of European states, UK, France, Germany, also the so-called Ukraine, had to take place. And when Marco Rubio refused to go into London, I reported yesterday about it, that meeting itself was postponed, and only expert representatives of the countries had a meeting eventually, not the ministers of or heads of foreign departments of foreign affairs. And also RIA Novosti is reporting that during the meeting of experts, in which seems like official or special envoy of US President Kat Kellogg was also participating, sides exchange opinions on potential ways to resolve the Ukrainian crisis. And for whatever reason, even though Marco Rubio was not happy with the Kiev regime, Trump was not happy with Kiev regime, J.D. Vance was not happy with Kiev regime, Kat Kellogg said that talks with Kiev representatives in London was something of positive. So US presidential special envoy Kat Kellogg reported on X social network about positive talks in London with their Ukrainian side, noting that it was time to move forward. There are positive talks in London with Andriy Yermak. Yermak is, of course, pimp of the Zelensky, and basically that's whom decisions are making in Kiev-controlled territory. When it comes to some local stuff, of course, when it comes to some major decision-making process, now London plays key role in that term. So Kellogg had a meeting with Yermak, and according to him, these talks were something of positive. Okay, whatever that means, dear friends. RIA Novosti, meanwhile, is reporting that it's not just Zelensky, obviously, that is refusing to accept Trump's so-called final offer, about which I spoke yesterday in an update, but it's a number of European states that are also opposing Trump's initiative. And for example, Reuters reporting about it, that Europe opposes recognition of Crimea in talks with the US. Europe is against recognizing Crimea as a Russian and lifting sanctions in talks with the United States on Ukraine. Reuters reports, citing European diplomats. According to agencies' sources, the goal of the talks held last week was not to get the Americans, Europeans and Ukrainians to formulate a joint position on resolving the conflict, but as the sources claim, some of Washington's proposals turned out to be unacceptable for Kiev, and its European allies, and under European allies, of course, we should mean UK, France, Germany, first of all, this main driving force now in Europe and in this anti-Russian coalition that are completely controlled by globalists, by the way. In addition to the recognition of Crimea, other major stumbling blocks remain, including Russia's desire to lift sanctions imposed on it by the European Union before the conclusion of negotiations, which Europe strongly opposes. Reuters quotes the diplomats as saying, and let's be clear here, Russia is not asking for no sanctions to be lifted. Russia is not asking West basically for anything really. During the talks, Russian side is very clear, right? Either these globalist criminals that are in charge of collective West will acknowledge objective reality, face the reality, and agree on the concessions, agree that they lost this proxy war and on the concessions to Russia, or special military operation will continue until all the goals of this operation is met, right? That's as simple as that. But it was obviously understandable, even without this report from Reuters, that globalist puppets in Europe, globalist puppet regimes in UK, France, and Germany will oppose US in its attempt to de-escalate. And when it comes to US, by the way, I did try to explain my vision of the situation. I think currently US is led by people that are not really part of this globalist movement. They are more focused on US, as far as I understand, by the way. I could be wrong, but as far as I understand, that is the case. These people that are in charge now in US are realizing that if they continue to be used by globalists as their main enforcer, then US is going down in a very same way that Europe is going down, right? And I think these people that are in charge in US are realizing that separately, US has chance to maintain its relevance on geopolitical scale because it has all the means for that, or practically all the means, right? And the situation for US will be even more, even better if Washington will somehow manage to make a deal with Moscow, to cooperate with Moscow in number of directions. And there are quite a few areas where Moscow and Washington can actually cooperate well enough if all the issues between the sides are resolved. So therefore, I really believe that Washington wants to get out of this proxy war. And they are trying to save the face, by the way, same time. And seems like Moscow is allowing Washington to save the face. Right? Moscow don't have to do this, but I guess some long-term perspectives being put in place, and Moscow also understands that it will be more productive if Russia allows US to get out of this conflict by saving face, because sometime in the future Moscow and Washington may actually cooperate in a number of areas, and it might be very useful for Russia. Of course, Russian leadership, first of all, thinks about Russian interests, so it could be very helpful for Russia and same time helpful for US. I mean, why not? If this is their case, but Europe is a whole different story, by the way. I don't think Russia will show mercy towards these globalist puppet regimes in Europe, right? Also, by the way, I mean, frustration of Washington is reaching new heights when it comes to all this Ukrainian crisis, globalists and their puppets, including in Kiev. And Trump, I mean, did not really shy away to accuse Zelensky of harming peace talks. For example, Ukraine's Vladimir Zelensky could lose their entirety of his country if he continues stealing talks with Russia. US President Donald Trump warned in a post on Truth Social on Wednesday. Zelensky had publicly announced that Kiev will not even discuss officially recognizing the Crimean Peninsula as Russian, a key tenet of Washington-backed peace proposal, which it was to present at the meeting with their officials, the country's European backers on Wednesday in London, but this meeting was postponed, as I already reported. Following the rebuttal, the top members of the US delegation withdrew from the planned talks, leading to the meeting being downgraded at the last minute on the level of experts. This statement is very harmful to their peace negotiations with Russia, in that Crimea was lost years ago, Trump wrote, accusing the Ukrainian leader of prolonging their conflict. And Trump has a point, by the way. Either, as I said many times before, either collective West and their puppet regime in Kiev acknowledges that they lost this proxy war and will go on the ladder of the escalation. And in that case, obviously Russian demands have to be met anyways, but there will be slight chance that so-called Ukraine will maintain its quasi-statehood on the political map. But if globalists will reject all the attempts to de-escalate the conflict, then Russia will have no option but to go all the way, and Trump is correct. In that case, obviously, Zelensky's regime or Kiev regime, whomever is going to be in charge there, will lose not just more territories, but also statehood itself. It's a possibility, and Trump is pointing out exactly on that. Meanwhile, by the way, as I said, J.D. Vance is also quite upset with Zelensky's regime. He has quite tense relationships with Zelensky anyways. So we have TASS news agency's report that Vance called on Russia and Ukraine to freeze the border along the line of contact now. US Vice President J.D. Vance believes that Russia and Ukraine should take the final step to end the conflict and freeze the border at the level close to the current line of conflict. We have quote here, I think that now is the time to take, if not the last, then one of the last steps, namely for their parties to declare their readiness to stop the killings, to freeze their territorial borders at the level close to the current one. He told journalists after a visit to Taj Mahal in India. He is still in India, by the way, I believe, with his family. And he has close ties with India because his wife has Indian roots. And so, yes, that's the statement of Vance. Although, by the way, Russian position is very clear, isn't it? On a topic of the escalation. Russian president in 2024, during the meeting with the leadership of foreign ministry, pointed out all the necessary steps that Kiev regime should take and its Western backers, some ground to be created for meaningful talks. And first of all, Kiev regime has to withdraw its forces from all the new Russian regions, that being Kherson, Zaporozhye regions, DPR and LPR, right? And Peskov, press spokesman of the Russian president, was asked about all these talks and hysteria that is taking place in the West in regards to this Trump's peace plan and the escalation, and that's what he said. Peace in Ukraine can only be achieved if Ukrainian troops are withdrawn from the territories of Donbass and Novorossiya, which are enshrined in the Russian constitution as an integral part of the country, said the Russian leader's press secretary Dmitry Peskov. If Ukraine withdraws its troops from these four regions, then yes, Peskov said in an interview with the French magazine Le Point, answering the journalist's question about ending the conflict if these conditions is met. So yes, I mean, nothing new here. Either Kiev regime is accepting this, or as Trump said, they might lose much more, right? And it's not just Trump that's saying so, but also former aide of Zelensky, former advisor Arestovich, who, as far as I understand, has some significant backing from Washington, also went to say in his latest interview that Ukraine must accept a loss of territories And for exactly the reasons that Trump was highlighting, we have quotes here, a couple of quotes. We give up 4 regions now, or in 6 months it will be 6 regions. Play down and it will be 8. That's what Aristovich is saying, and he also has a point. This is true, by the way. As I already said, either Kiev regime and its globalist backers from Europe accept that they lost this proxy war against Russia, and they have to come to the terms of the objective reality and accept the Russian terms, or they will lose more. That's just how it is, right? And seems like Aristovich, who once worked as an advisor to Zelensky and was a quite popular person in Ukraine, as far as I understand, that's what he's also saying, because it's just a objective, this opinion based on objective reality, right? Russian troops already are in a couple of kilometers away from the Dnipropetrovsk region, and they give it another week or two, and Russian troops gonna start liberating people and their settlements in the Dnipropetrovsk region too, right? So RT is reporting, meanwhile, that according to US media, Steve Witkoff may visit Russia this week. So meeting between Russian President Vladimir Putin and US President Donald Trump's special envoy Steve Witkoff could happen on Friday. Axios reported on Wednesday, citing unnamed US officials. So yes, tomorrow Witkoff may arrive in Moscow, maybe even today, and because every time he visited Moscow, he had a meeting with the Russian president. I guess this time is not going to be any different, and probably Russian president will meet him, and they will discuss some details of Trump's peace plan, or the Washington's view how all this situation can be de-escalated, or what Washington plans if Kiev regime and its globalist backers will not come to the terms that Washington is offering, Moscow is offering, and objective reality is offering, right? So let's see. It's gonna be interesting. And Trump himself, by the way, did spoke about obviously all this Ukrainian crisis and stuff, and he was asked about potential meeting with face-to-face meeting with the Russian President Putin, if that kind of meeting will take place in Saudi Arabia, for example, where Trump plans to go in next couple of weeks, and that's gonna be his first foreign trip, I believe, since the second term. And so US President Donald Trump said he is unlikely to meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Saudi Arabia, but the meeting will likely take place shortly after that trip. Trump's visit to Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, and Qatar will take place from May 13th to 16th. So it's a regional trip for Trump, and I think due to latest statements of Trump himself and some predictions, maybe main topic of this visit of Trump will be possible attacks on Iran. Recently, Turkish media reported that Trump asked Erdogan for neutrality of Turkey in case Iran been attacked, and he also asked Erdogan to provide safe sky over the Syria, which is effectively controlled by Turkey now through its proxy regime. And why would Trump ask Erdogan about it if Washington is not on the same page with Netanyahu when it comes to topic of attacks on Iran? And Trump himself just like 2 days ago, isn't it right, that he had talks with Netanyahu and they are on the same page on all issues, which is also can be seen as an indicator that US is actually preparing to participate in these attacks on Iran, and therefore probably Washington will try to pressure United Arab Emirates, Qatar, and Saudi Arabia to not to resist not to resist basically to these attacks. I think Trump will fail. Saudi Arabia now has quite okay relationships with Iran. Same can be said about United Arab Emirates and Qatar. And therefore, I think these countries might actually oppose Trump in his potentially in his idea to attack Iran. Let's see. We will find out. We will find out. But Iran already warned regional countries that there will be repercussions if they will allow hostile states to use their airspace or their territory in any way, shape, or form for attacks on Iran. And therefore, I think leadership of these countries in Persian Gulf will think twice before agree with Trump on anything, especially on topic of attacks on Iran. But meeting between Russian president and US president may actually take place somewhere in May or June, potentially, because especially because now we all see that Washington is not even hiding frustration with the globalists, with Europe, with the Kiev regime, and seems like they really want to get out of this proxy war and to somewhat normalize relationships with Russia, because this is right direction to go. I mean, simple as that. RIA Novosti, meanwhile, is reporting that French militaries demanded explanation over Ukraine. So retired soldiers and officers of the French army have sent a letter to both houses of parliament calling for disclosure of information about the participation of French troops in the conflict in Ukraine. The head of the Place d'Armes Association, Jean-Pierre Fabre Bernadette, said on Sud Radio or Sud Radio, the number of signatories, most of whom are military personnel today, amounts to 9,000 people, he said, noting that the army serves France and not one person or the regime. The retired military personnel's appeal notes that their country's parliament did not participate in the ratification of the Franco-Ukrainian agreement on financial and military support for Kiev, which calls into question their legitimacy. The recent statements by the President of the Republic regarding the possible deployment of French troops require parliamentary debate to guarantee the legitimacy of such a choice on behalf of nation. This is indispensable condition for the legality of the army's intervention, the statement says. At the same time, authors of the letter point to various reports about the presence of the French troops in Ukraine, which has not been officially confirmed. And by the way, there were many times reports, isn't it, about neutralization of the French-speaking mercenaries, as they called, on Kiev-controlled territory. And even there were reports that entire company of French Legion, Foreign Legion of France, was destroyed during one of their battles. Over 100 or about 100 French militaries were exterminated in just a single battle, right? And for now, overall casualty numbers, when it comes to French militaries, are probably in at least hundreds, right? So, and who else would know this better than current or former French militaries that have connections, right? So that's why they are basically asking these questions, because they know what is going on. They know that French soldiers have been deployed and been killed, right? And wounded. But officially, this topic was not discussed in the French parliament. France did not declare war on Russia, right? French parliament did not even voted for deployment of French troops in Ukraine. So question of legitimacy and question of French involvement in this proxy war is definitely one that people should care about in France, not just militaries, but people in general, because consequences of further escalation with Moscow by French leadership can be absolutely devastating for France. You know, if French militaries know this, then civilians should at least listen to their militaries, right? That know something about war. TASS news agency is also reporting that Russia bans entry to 21 UK lawmakers. So Russia banned entry to 21 UK lawmakers over London's anti-Russian policies, the Russian Foreign Ministry said in a statement in response to London's ongoing confrontational politics, which include efforts to demonize our country, fabricate many anti-Russian narratives with their aim to reduce Moscow's influence on the international stage, and continue funneling weapons to the neo-Nazi regime in Kiev. A decision has been made to include a number of members of UK's parliament in the Russian stop list, said the statement, which lists 21 so-called lawmakers from UK. And well, these lawmakers can say goodbye to their political career, because if they are bound to enter Russia, they literally have no, as a politicians, they have no meaning from now on, right? Because if you cannot enter and have a talks with one of the major countries in this world, then what kind of politician are you? So yes, Russia quite effectively killed the political careers of these 21 criminals that pretends to be MPs in UK. Meanwhile, RIA Novosti is reporting that there was an attempt to arrest or to serve Dodik with a summons to appear at the police station, and this attempt ended unsuccessfully. So the inspectors of the investigation and the protection agency of the Bosnia and Herzegovina failed to serve the president of the Republic of Srpska, Milorad Dodik, with a summons to appear at the police station in eastern Sarajevo. Radio television of the Republic of Srpska reports on Wednesday Dodik met with the heads of municipalities and the mayor of East Sarajevo in the building of the administrative center of the Republic of Srpska on the territory of Republic of Srpska. During their meeting, 3 inspectors of SIPA approached the barrier at the entrance to the territory. The activity of this structure, like the court and the prosecutor's office of Bosnia and Herzegovina, is prohibited on the territory of Republic of Srpska. And basically, Serb policemen stopped these criminals that were sent there by criminal regime, that is a puppet regime of the globalists in Bosnia and Herzegovina. We all know that globalists want to arrest Dodik and his allies, his comrades. Dodik is a very popular person among Serb people, maybe most popular politician right now. He is a traditionalist, he is a patriot of Serb people, and globalists hate this. Globalists hate this, and they want to arrest him, they want to neutralize him. And well, in this attempt to take Dodik down, globalists may actually trigger new civil war inside Bosnia and Herzegovina, and complete disintegration of this artificial quasi-state, basically, which is which mainly is Bosniaks, Croats, and the Serbs. And I think Serb people and Croats will be happy to just go separate ways from this non-entity Bosnia and Herzegovina. What Bosnia and Herzegovina, man? This total nonsense, right? And Bosnian Muslims that are Serbs, by the way, but become Muslims. Historically, after when there was an Ottoman occupation there, they are Serb people. They are Slavic people, right? Majority of Bosniaks. Some people may have no idea about it, but they are just Slav people. They are Serbs that for whatever. Some of them are Serbs, some of them Croats. I mean, they are locals, right? Slav people that are due to Ottoman occupation centuries ago, after generations and generations of occupation, become a Muslim, and this religion now is dividing people, unfortunately. But this is just objective reality there on the ground. Croats are Catholics, Catholic Christians, and the Serbs are Orthodox Christians, right? And well, I think if globalists continue and their puppet regime in Bosnia continues to pressure Dodik to take in attempt to take him down, then they might actually trigger yet another civil war in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and that's going to be the end of this quasi-state that should never exist, by the way. Bosnia and Herzegovina either should be part of Serbia completely, or should be separated and let Bosniaks be separate country. Let Croats go towards Croatia, join Croatia, and the Republic of Srpska might choose go either fully independent or to join Serbia. It's up to people there, right? But Bosnia and Herzegovina definitely makes no sense to me personally. Existence of this entity. Anyways, some escalation in Balkans, by the way, for sure. Also, very important news is coming from Global South. India cuts Pakistan off after massacre, terrorist attack on India that take place in Jammu and Kashmir, which claimed 26 lives. So India has downgraded diplomatic ties with Pakistan and announced several other retaliatory measures in response to a cross-border assault by militants into India's territory of Jammu and Kashmir on Thursday that killed 26 civilians. Cabinet Committee of Security meeting chaired by Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Wednesday decided on 5 retaliatory measures. It includes declaring Pakistan High Commission defense advisors persona non grata and reducing the strength of Islamabad's diplomatic mission in India from 55 to 30 people. India will be withdrawing its own military advisors from its High Commission in Pakistan capital. The response also includes cancelling visas for Pakistani nationals under the SAARC visa exemption scheme, which entitles certain categories of dignitaries to a special travel document, thus exempting them from visas within the region. While briefing the media after their meeting, Foreign Minister Vikram Misri said, Pakistani, sorry dear friends, where I was. Okay, anyways, by the way, I mean, this is not the foreign minister of India. India's foreign minister is Jai Shankar, isn't it? So SAARC, or the South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation, comprises Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Maldives, Nepal, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka. While briefing the media after the meeting, Foreign Minister Vikram Misri, who's foreign minister for God's sake, said that their defense, military, naval, and air advisors in the Pakistani High Commission have a week to leave India. Pakistani nationals currently in India under their Suez regime have 48 hours to leave the country. Maybe representative of Foreign Ministry of India, Vikram Misri, I don't know. Maybe Jai Shankar was removed from his position and I missed something there. I don't know. Quite confusing, by the way. What is wrong with RT, by the way? Which foreign minister of which country? I mean, look at the sentence, by the way. While briefing the media after the meeting, Foreign Minister Vikram Misri, you know what? I'm gonna right now, by the way, just give me a sec. I'm gonna check. Let me Google this. Who is Vikram Mirsi? I mean, he is a foreign minister. Who is Jai Shankar then? Also foreign minister. It's confusing, by the way. I mean, India has 2 foreign ministers, or what the hell, man? What is going on here? I don't know. Confusing. Sorry, dear friends. I mean, I had to check to make sure what's going on. But anyways, unfortunately, there was this terrorist attack on India, and India is now taking some countermeasures. And well, it is bad that these 2 nuclear countries, India and Pakistan, are constantly on the edge of war. But unfortunately, that's how it is, man. New Delhi and Pakistan are always a step away from yet another war, and 2 countries, since they gained independence from a British Empire, already fought like 4 to 5 times. There was plenty of wars, isn't it? Unfortunately, and these are one people, right, with one roots, mainly. I mean, of course, there are some different ethnic minorities and so on, but in general, majority of people in Pakistan and India are one people, and they are divided because of the religion too. I mean, religion should not divide people. I mean, but that's what it does, unfortunately, at least time to time. TASS news agency, meanwhile, is reporting that Rubio denies plans to lift sanctions on the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio called Politico's publication about alleged discussions in the White House of the possibility of lifting sanctions on the Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline, a fabrication. This is a clearly lie. Neither Steve Witkoff nor I discussed lifting sanctions on Russia as a part of Ukraine deal, Rubio said. And, well, Politico, not the first time, lies about stuff. And you know what? Do not lift sanctions on Nord Stream pipelines and on anything, really. These sanctions actually are helping Russia. And if it was up to me, by the way, I would minimize any connection with the globalist controlled Europe anyways, right? So there is no need for Russia sanctions to be lifted on Nord Stream 2 pipeline. Russia should divert its exports completely on the rest of the world and just forget about existence of Europe. That's it, by the way. I mean, how many times history gonna repeat itself so that we will learn something? I mean, how many times these European states, under whatever pretext, gonna attack Russia, directly or indirectly? I mean, how many times? Elites in Europe, they are just raised this way. I mean, they are Nazis, they are racists, by the way. They hate, they have no respect to anybody, and they hate everybody. Whenever they are facing some issues, by the way, they always look to blame Russia, and they always look east, and they always are trying to attack Russia, disintegrate Russia, harm Russia. I mean, this is just historical pattern, right? And Russian leadership made a huge, even Soviet leadership, by the way, at the time, made a huge mistake when these pipelines were built to supply with gas European states, Western European states. And it was mistake on Russian part to build this Nord Stream and Nord Stream 2 pipelines too. Why should Russia supply energy with the countries that eventually will become hostile anyways? Because that's what history says, right? How many times Russia has to fight with this invading force? So therefore, I don't know what is wrong with Politico, but you know what? Moscow is not asking nobody for sanctions to be lifted. And recently, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said it quite clearly, isn't it? Russia is not asking nobody nothing, right? If anybody in the West thinks that they have some leverage over Russia while manipulating with the topic of sanctions, they are wrong. Nobody here in Russia is asking sanctions to be lifted. It's not nice. It does harm the Russian economy for sure. I mean, it's like tens of thousands of sanctions imposed, right? Of course, it does harm the Russian economy, but as we can see, dear friends, somehow Russia is managing to deal with these issues, and Russian economy is growing all these years several times higher than major economies in Europe, or any economies in Europe. And to be more precise, by the way, European major economies don't even increasing. They are in decline, right? And for example, we have this report on that very topic that Germany faces third year of zero growth. Germany's economy in terms of GDP. So Germany is facing the third straight year of economic stagnation following the latest US tariff hike and the growing uncertainty over their Washington's trade policy. Handelsblatt reported on Thursday, I butcher probably name of this media outlet or whatever it is. But yes, I see on some other sources too that Germany's economy, based on official data there, will have zero growth this year. But actually, Germany's economy is in recession, as UK's economy is, by the way. Governments there just are manipulating with numbers, right, to mislead the people. But in reality, major economies in Europe, Germany, UK, are in a recession. French economy is not doing any better, really. And mainly all this is happening not because of the tariffs of Washington, but because globalists and their puppet regimes in these countries destroy their economical ties with Russia, right? And destroy basement of their economies, which was a relatively cheap Russian energy. That is the reason, right? Not freaking tariffs from US, by the way. I mean, tariffs came into force just now, isn't it? Into play. But what about last year? What about the year before? So it is what it is, man. It is what it is. Absolutely not surprising that European economies are doing this better. And this is just the beginning, by the way. This is just the beginning. Give it another 5-10 years and European economies will shrink unbelievably, and give it another 20 to 30 years and modern Europe, with the exception of few countries that will have more or less good working relationships with Russia. The rest, by the way, is going to be completely irrelevant, absolutely irrelevant territories somewhere on outskirts of Eurasian continent. That's the destination that Europe is heading right now. Due to these crazy policies of these psychopaths that are in charge there, globalists and their puppet regimes. Anyways, dear friends, I have to end this update now. Hopefully you will find it informative, interesting, useful. And if so, please click that like button if you have not yet, and leave some commentary just about anything. Every time, by the way, likes are about 1,000, maybe more, algorithm is reacting on that, and their videos are reaching wider audience. So if you can, please click that like button, and comments also influence. I know YouTube's algorithm deletes many comments. I know this, dear friends. It deletes my comments also. I mean, there are so many times when I'm responding to a question or, just writing greetings to a person and YouTube is deleting it. I mean, it's just the greetings, right? And for whatever reason, algorithm is deleting it. So I know there is an issue with that, but anyways, at least some comments are managing to go through, isn't it? So yes, if you can, please click that like button, leave some commentary, share video with your friends or the information about my channel. That might also help. And yes, if you like my work, dear friends, if you like this channel, this project of mine, if you think I deserve to be in this field of news and political commentary, please consider to support my work with donation through PayPal or Boosty platforms or by subscribing to my Patreon page. All the links are on this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. This is it for now. Have a wonderful day and take care.